Happy Friday. I wanted to share with you an experience I had recently with my dad having COVID and some thoughts that then I had afterwards, and um, I guess some unsolicited advice for any of our congregants who may be living alone, especially the older you are. And I'm sure, so I know from talking with congregants that those of you who are older and live alone have a heightened worry about COVID because of concern about how you would be able to take care of yourself if you had it. And I guess what this story is about is like, oh, I finally get it. So my dad, who's in his 80s, had COVID for the first time just after the new year, and he got on Paxlovid right away. That's the prescription medication that can help shorten and lessen bouts of COVID, and is, you know, recommended, particularly the older we get, that it might be helpful in helping get through COVID. So, with the clarity of hindsight, he started Paxlovid on his third day of symptoms. So, his I think the CDC counts the first day as day 0. He woke up with a sore throat, but it went away, and so it kind of seemed like allergies, like any of us might get sometimes. A little morning stuffiness. And so the same with the next day, he was having some sniffles. So I guess that would be day 1. And he tested positive that evening. So he got Paxlovid by the morning of the second day. And his main symptoms at that point became sleeping, as his body was fighting off. And so fortunately, one of my siblings is staying with him right now, and the rest of us live nearby and could check on him and help out, because he could not keep himself awake. And so he had the Paxlovid and fell asleep in the middle of trying to, it has one of those you push it out through the foil. And so he was struggling with that. So we had to wake him up for him to take his Paxlovid. When we woke him up, we would also have him drink a glass of water. I have read that one of the main reasons that people end up hospitalized during COVID is from dehydration. So we were keeping an eye on that and encouraging him to, could he eat something when he was awake? But he slept for most of 24 hours. I was reading information that a time to take someone to the emergency room is if they can't wake up. And so we were starting to worry about that. He was able to wake up when we, wanted him to take his medication. But then after, like on his third dose, he really started to improve and feel better. I think I might remember it wrong, but Paxlovid is for 5 days. And he took all those doses. He felt continuously better after that. He did not have a rebound case of COVID, hasn't come back, and did very well after that. So I was so grateful for Paxlovid, which suddenly seemed like a miracle drug to me. And so as I mentioned at the start, we have congregants who have talked to me about being afraid of what would happen if they had COVID and how they would take care of themselves. And so I finally got it, that my dad wouldn't have been able to administer his own medication because he was falling asleep. I think he wouldn't have been able to keep track of the day and the time very well. So was very glad we were there to help. So, I'm so mindful that it's not my place to give medical advice, and I don't want you to misinterpret anything I'm saying as medical advice. And I did a little write-up for myself on what I would do if I were living alone, and particularly we're older. I think we still, from what I read, 65 and older is still a much higher risk category than folks who are younger than that. So I guess I feel, I'm not posting this document publicly. I probably could. I just feel like I don't want anyone to misunderstand that this is just like a personal reflection for me that I'm happy to share with congregants. And I can even tell you the gist of it, which is to, I think, consider talking to your doctor now about Paxlovid. Don't wait until you have COVID. Ask if, if Paxlovid would be recommended for you, if you would need to adjust any other medication you take while you were taking Paxlovid, and could you get a prescription for Paxlovid in advance so you'd have it on hand? Some doctors might do that, other doctors might not. It's not something to argue about, but doesn't hurt to ask. And I created a little form for you to fill out that you could keep on your fridge, and you could give a copy of the form to me, or if you have local family, you could give it to them. But someone who's going to help you, help take care of you when if you get COVID, and will help you obtain the Paxlovid if you need it, and make sure you take it at certain times. So if you are someone in the congregation who doesn't have someone you feel you can rely on to help you, I think we would like to try and offer that through the congregation as friends helping friends. So, I think if you live alone and don't have someone to help out, I think we could find people who could come and check on you. Again, this little plan would have us checking on you 3 times a day. So maybe I should add to the plan, you need an extra key to your home because you're going to have someone else come in. We're going to make sure you're doing okay. Make sure you take a dose of medication, drink some water, have something to eat, and make sure that nothing's occurring that would constitute an emergency and a need to escalate medical care. So none of us are, doctors and nurses, but friends helping keep an eye on each other is, I think, something we can offer. Especially, my dad's experience was he started to feel better within a couple of days. So, so fingers crossed. I think and as I just mentioned, you might want to get this information just to share with a family member. If you have an adult child who lives locally, or grandchildren, nieces, nephews, you can take this same kind of plan that I have written out and just share it with a family member. They can have a copy of, how to help pick up your medication or where to find it in your house, and this idea of checking 3 times a day. And I think, it needs to be an in-person check, not a phone call. People who are confused can still sound okay on the phone. So, I think an in-person check multiple times a day is important. So, I'm hoping this is helpful. I know some of you are just really haven't been able to re-engage with the world. And I'm not saying this frees you up to go do things that might be risky, but might lessen the fear and the uncertainty around what might happen if you were to get COVID. Because one of the things we see, right, is each wave, sort of another group of people who never had it get it. I know there's still people who haven't had it, but my dad wasn't exceptionally careful. He'd wear a mask, but I was with him many places he didn't wear a mask that I did. So, we had started to wonder if maybe he couldn't get it, and then he got it. So I think each variant now seems to be less deadly but more contagious. So this is, I guess, part of the endemic process. So anyway, if you would like to see a copy of this PDF, it's a 3-page notes, just email me. I'll email it to you. And let's see if we can't help hold each other and, help some of us have a little more courage to be able to take a step back towards a little more social life, right? I think for those of us who are able to come out more and more, it really feels like, a fog lifting, and, we can look back and see, like, it was really hard staying at home and being apart from people in person. I feel like COVID has taught us how important it is to be together in person. It's not the same on the computer, and that, our mental health is really impacted when we can't be with other humans. As complicated and hard as it can sometimes be to be with other humans, we really do need each other. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. And if you are someone who thinks you could help out if someone in our community has COVID, and you would be masked and go into their home and check on them. I know those of us who have had COVID, many of us feel much less frightened of it than we used to. And, I was exposed to COVID when my dad tested positive and I didn't get it. So, you know, I don't know what the odds are of that, but I feel like my immune system's working and managed to fight it off. So anyway, that's what I wanted to offer this week. I hope everyone's doing well. If you can come in person on Sunday, I hope you will. We should have a fun service and we're going to have some cake. So anyway, much love to all of you. Take care.